What up, guys? We are back after a week. Sorry about last week, guys. We went on a little Christmas vacation. But we're back. This is Ozzy.
Mr. Blades.
And today we're going to be talking about something that's not so fun. We kind of went back and forth with this one because touchy subject, not something that we typically would want to talk about, or just at all, really, because it's kind of strange, kind of touchy for me. I mean, as a parent, Yeah. But of course, we're talking about the unsolved murder case going on more than 25 years now, or 20 nearing 25 years, something like that.
1996,
something like that. Yeah, 24 years. You know what I mean? So we're talking about the JonBenet Ramsey case. Still unsolved. A lot of theories out there, a lot of different things that have been said in the media through different, people that were involved, that worked, police officers, detectives, stuff like that, throughout the years have come forward and kind of said their version of what happened and how they saw it happen. But I mean, it's definitely such a sad thing. This little girl was 6 at the time, and someone killed her.
Well, supposedly someone took her, kidnapped her.
Yeah.
And then the dad found the body, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a kidnapper. I've never been kidnapped. But, I mean, I think the premise of you kidnapping someone is to take them away, not leave them there. I don't know, man. There's just so many sketchy things. Yeah. We're going to dive right in. You'll see why it's a little suspicious about the whole kidnapping thing. There, night or the day after Christmas, December 26, 1996, little girl's mom calls the police at right before 6 o'clock in the morning. She's hysterical on the phone call and everything, and we'll post some links of phone calls and whatnot. But yeah, like, obviously, your kid's missing and you're just freaking out at 6 o'clock in the morning. And apparently they found a ransom note,
Really lengthy one.
Yeah.
It was like 2.5 pages long.
Yeah, something like 2.5, 3 pages long for a ransom note. Basically the gist of it was, we have your daughter and we want a very specific amount of money. We want $118,000.
Which is a strange amount.
Yeah, it's like oddly specific. You know what I mean? Like, why not ask for
$1 million?
$1 million, 100,000. I mean, I don't know.
And this family is really wealthy.
Yeah. JonBenet Ramsey, who is the dad, basically had a startup, back in the 90s, with all the tech was barely becoming big and stuff like that. And he moved his headquarters out to Boulder, Colorado. They were originally from Georgia.
Yeah.
And they moved their headquarters over of his company to Boulder, and found a lot of success in that. I mean, they had this mansion where they lived in. I mean, it was a 15-bedroom house. You know what I mean? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, shit.
And it's just 4 of them living there.
Yeah, it was just JonBenet,
Patsy Ramsey, the mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then the brother.
Burke. Yeah, the 9-year-old brother, Burke. And the little girl. I mean, yeah, it's a lot of house for four people, I guess. But if you can afford it, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, the mom found her. I mean, not find. She didn't find her. She found that she wasn't in her room. So that's when she called 911 to report that her kid was kidnapped and that she had found a ransom letter. Which is, I mean, the ransom note alone is just bizarre.
Yeah,
You know, a ransom note. I mean, they're usually half a page long or a page long. This was 2.5 pages long, and
yeah, that's a lot of like the ransom notice is like it's kind of infamous at this point because a lot of the detectives, police officers, people in law enforcement, professionals that do this for a living and stuff like that. That's kind of like a red flag that they always, they bring up in any kind of interview or anything like that is how lengthy this ransom letter was. It's almost 3 pages long. And, also it goes into like really odd and specific details. Like at one point they're talking about they're from like a foreign nation or whatever. And um, again, they're asking for like $118,000, and like I don't know, it was just
yeah,
just a lot of
they
things.
even asked for the money, and they wanted the $118,000. They wanted 100,000 in 100 bills, and the remaining 18,000 they wanted it in 20s.
Yeah, so it's I mean it's kind of you know
Yeah, and
red flags all over the place.
the amount is weird because at that time, the father of JonBenet had gotten a bonus for 118,000.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's definitely it raises the question that if this indeed was a kidnapping or something like that, I mean, it must have been someone really close to
Yeah,
them.
it
That I
makes
mean,
you kind of like wonder if it was someone they knew. I mean, who else would know?
yeah, who else is gonna know?
Yeah, it's either family or friends.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, 9 times out of 10 cases like this, when it's like murder or kidnapping, it tends to be someone close to the family. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
weird note, and then of course,
that's the first weird thing. The
you know,
letter.
I think that this whole thing it was just kind of like a perfect storm of um basically Murphy's law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. From the very beginning, obviously you're talking about December 26th, the day after Christmas. So definitely police department's gonna more than likely be understaffed. Um, a lot of things went down, and the police department for Boulder was held under a lot of scrutiny because of how badly they handled the entire situation. I mean, the crime scene was,
From the beginning, it was everything
yeah,
was contaminated
yeah,
from the
like
start. After
they didn't lock it down. They let people in and out of the house.
yeah,
Like, um, you know,
after Patsy called 911, she called her friends, I think, or family, and to come over, and they all walked through the whole house.
yeah, yeah,
They just destroying any possible evidence that was there, and then um the second weird thing is that right after, the dad called his pilot.
yeah, yeah. He had. I mean, they had money, so I mean, the Ramseys had a private plane, and apparently one of the first phone calls the dad of this family, the first phone call that he made, one of the first phone calls he made after this whole thing was going down is he called his pilot and told him, hey, get the plane ready. We need to
When he
get
go
out of
to,
here for a
they
little
were,
bit.
I think he wanted to go to Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean they're originally from Atlanta, from Georgia, so I mean they wanted to go back to Georgia or whatever, and you know I don't know, as a parent, I feel like if your kid goes missing, you're not gonna try to bail out of town. That's that probably wouldn't be your first.
No, you'd want to try to find your kid.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But one of the many strange things about this case, I guess. Another thing was, like I said, I mean, police department kind of dropped the ball there. I think. I mean, you know, um, they let people in and out and everything like that. And I guess, like I said, I mean, there's just a lot of things going on. You know, you're there day after Christmas. It's like kidnapping. It's, you know, it's crazy. Um, but you know, throughout this whole thing where people were coming in and out of the house and the police was there, and you know, they're like, hey, well, you know, tell the family, go through the house, see if there's anything out of place, see if something, you know,
Something's
seems
missing.
odd. And you know, John Ramsey, he goes straight down to the basement.
Yeah, well,
um
actually, the detective told him start from the top and work your way all the way down. See if you see anything weird. Instead of going to the top and working his way down, he went straight to like a cellar that they had in the
yeah,
basement,
yeah, so I guess the basement had like a
like
different
different.
section.
Yeah,
um in his account of everything, and there is photos from the evidence and stuff like that. Right off the bat, there was a window that was open, and there was um, like a luggage that was positioned right under the open window. So, you know, he kind of, I don't know, I guess whatever. He goes straight to the wine cellar, and that's where he finds his daughter. You know, she's laying there. He claims that she was covered up in a blanket. Goes to her and grabs her. So again, a lot of these things, you know, we're not by any means um, in law enforcement, and we're not detectives or anything, but I would assume that that's kind of, you know, you're at that point you're tampering with the evidence. It's you're contaminating the scene by, you know, and I get it as a parent. I mean, I can't imagine like what he must have been going through, what was going through his mind when he saw his little girl laying on the floor. Like maybe he just wanted to see if she was okay. I don't know. Um, but I mean, at that point, she was dead.
and the cause of death was strangulation, and also she had a skull fracture in the back of her head.
Yeah. So, and here's where it gets interesting, and like a lot of different theories are out there as to who actually did it, who actually murdered this little girl, because um, yeah, the official cause of death was like strangulation, asphyxiation by strangulation. Um, but upon the autopsy and everything, it was discovered she had a pretty significant skull fracture. I mean, it was something like um, it that might as well, she probably would have bled out or something. I mean, it was pretty substantial. You know what I mean? So a lot of theories, they started blaming the mom.
Yeah, and they started blaming the mom because, well, I mean, they really couldn't find any, real evidence. But what they had there was the nylon cord and a broken handle of a paintbrush that was used to make um, a garrote to strangle her, and the paintbrush was the mom's paintbrush.
Yeah, I mean, and this is where it gets like so much attention was given to the mom and put on the mom because um the ransom note that was found, you know, was actually
Also,
also from her notepad,
right.
because apparently, you know, she had a notepad or whatever, and they were able to determine that it was her specific notepad that this kidnapper used in order to like write this ransom note. Also, like you said, when they discovered the paintbrush handle and everything, that was hers too, you know, and it's not looking too good for mom.
No, and it's just, I mean, her notepad that she probably uses on a daily
Yeah,
was in that cellar, and her paint brushes were in there too.
yeah,
It's
it
just
seems
weird.
like, I mean, whoever did this must have gone through the house. Like, I mean, I get it. It's a big ass house, but
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know that I
but
could sleep through someone walking through my house at night, going to my kids' rooms, going into my office,
yeah, I
going
mean,
down to
because I
the
mean,
cellar.
you hear
Like,
when your kids get up in the middle of the night to
yeah,
like go to the restroom, like
yeah, exactly.
yeah, and then you were telling me that they they found out that they had practice on writing the
Yeah.
letters.
So when the detectives were there and everything during the investigation, a lot of things were kind of bizarre. One of which this very lengthy um, ransom note letter, uh, which was written on this lady's notepad. Someone had actually started like a rough draft, if you will. You know, they had already written one out, and they kind of said, "No, no, no, fuck it. It sounds stupid. Let's rewrite it." You know, like for you to have that much time to like,
Yeah,
you know, it just seems very suspicious to say the least. And so that's why a lot of the focus at the beginning of the investigation, I mean, four people go to sleep inside the house that is like a gated house. They have security systems, whatever. And only three of them wake up alive, you know.
yeah.
More than likely, it was one of the other three people that were still in the house that were probably responsible. But
I mean, and I don't. I mean, it's kind of. They had a Christmas party that night before she was found. I mean, I understand like maybe they were really tired and they kind of like, just slept through the noise. But still, it's just. But I mean, I've never fallen asleep in a 15-room house,
yeah,
so
yeah, me either. So um, you never know, man. Um, I just feel like it just all seems too like there's so many red flags. Like, how are you not gonna um know that your kids are walking around there? Like, I mean, there's things like that.
yeah.
You
And
kind of you should know.
this whole case, like the whole everything about this is just strange. Like when the mom called, the friends and family to come over, like the friends and family started cleaning the house. They wiped down the kitchen surfaces. They're picking up, the messes that a mess that was there, and the
Yeah,
cops weren't doing anything about
yeah,
it.
and again, the police department was just kind of like letting everything happen, and I don't know why it must have been. I mean, um, I guess this family, I mean, they were very prominent in this very small town of Boulder.
And I mean, and they were really
Um,
well known because I mean,
yeah,
JonBenet was a pageant
yeah,
little
that's
girl, and then the mom was also.
yeah. She was like a socialite. I mean, the dad was a super successful dude.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knew them.
So I mean, yeah, and I
But I
get
mean, it's
that,
still.
but
I mean, law enforcement still has to be professional, and they're trying to solve something, and
yeah,
they're just letting this stuff go on.
yeah, definitely. And I mean,
Yeah, it's.
like I said, I mean, it's from the very beginning. I mean, everything about this case, you know.
And another
Um,
thing with Boulder PD is that they didn't want FBI helping them out, and then Denver police, who are bigger, way more professional police department who actually deals with this stuff, more often than Boulder does, because Boulder's
it's a
it's a
pretty small town.
fancy little town, and they denied Denver PD to send their investigators to to just help.
Yeah,
And I mean, I don't understand. And everyone was saying that the police chief at that time was like really, you know, he he felt that he didn't need no one's help. Like, oh, we can do everything.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I guess I can understand that from a perspective of like you don't want to bring someone else into your backyard essentially and like have them do your job, you know, and show you up, which is kind of unfortunate because I mean this like decisions that were made by people that were in key positions essentially led to this being an unsolved mystery for like almost 25 years.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of fucked
yeah,
up.
and it's just insane how every little thing about it doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, like the autopsy where they found, pineapple in her stomach. Yet the parents insist that she didn't eat pineapple. And JonBenet had a weird thing where she would eat fruit with milk.
Yeah. I thought that was really strange,
And
but I mean, to each their own, I guess.
and on in the kitchen table there was a bowl of pineapple with milk and a spoon in it. But the parents claim that she never ate that that night, but in the autopsy it showed that she had had pineapple a few hours before her death.
Yeah.
So I mean, a few hours? Do they mean like 2, 3? Like 3, 4 hours? Because
Yeah. I mean,
this is the
just
next day.
yeah, and then just like the timeline of it all, because obviously that's another thing that investigators were struggling with. It's like, okay, well, what time did you guys get home? What time did you guys go to sleep? What time did you guys put the kids to sleep? Did they go to sleep right away? Things like that. And it's like from the time you got home till essentially,
Yeah, because the mom found her.
five something in the morning. Where
The mom found her at 5:25 in the morning.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I mean, that's where she found that she wasn't there
Right.
or whatever.
Okay. So the dad didn't find her body until 1 p.m. And the autopsy is showing that, the food had only been in her stomach for a few hours.
Yeah, I mean, definitely wasn't like she had.
How did that happen if the dad found her that day after, the mom finding out she wasn't there at 5 in the morning, the dad finding the body at 1 in the afternoon?
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah, again, a lot of red flags, a lot of very suspicious things. I mean, it's that's why it's such an interesting like case, and it's truly a mystery. Like who did it and why. Like, I mean, I wonder if we'll ever actually find out.
Yeah.
What really went down. Um, you know, but a lot of things, a lot of people got obsessed with this thing. Like they had like this very notorious like pedophile that came forward a few years after and like said, "Oh, I did it," and of course, like
yeah, and then I mean,
it
the
wasn't
DNA
him.
that was found on her underwear, and it didn't belong to
Yeah,
him. So that's when cops just lost interest in him, and the DNA did belong to an unknown male. I mean, obviously PD checked, everyone close to them.
yeah.
For their
Basically, it kind
DNA,
of
and
cleared.
nothing. The DNA hasn't matched anyone, even in the CODIS system, which is the combined DNA index system that stores all the DNA samples from everyone who's done something.
Yeah,
And to the day, it has not matched.
yeah. And it's one of those things. I mean, at first, when it didn't match any of the initial like suspects and stuff like that, obviously that kind of exonerated them, you know, in a way, because it's like, okay, well, I mean, there's DNA here and it's not yours, and clearly it wasn't you. But years later, and obviously, this is back in the '90s, and years later, where all the advancement in technology and stuff like that, there was actually an expert that came forward and was like, you know what, this might have just been a false positive in a way. It might have just been cross contamination from the actual underwear itself, because obviously, you're buying stuff that other humans are handling and putting in package. And I mean, he even proved it. I mean, he bought a brand new pack of underwear and submitted it to some kind of DNA test, and yeah, he found foreign DNA on the underwear. So I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of like, okay, well, now does it really exonerate those people? Because it could have just been something from like whoever packaged the damn thing, and then whoever killed her didn't really leave any evidence. So those people are kind of back on the hook.
Yeah. And a lot of the investigators believe that it was a staged, crime scene.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what we've been talking about, like, nothing makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, from that very lengthy like ransom note and everything, and a lot of people were starting to think like, Um, Maybe even her older brother Burke might have done it. You know, maybe they were trying to cover it up. At that point, it was an accidental thing. Maybe they were playing. Maybe they were having some kind of scuffle, and you know, he
Yeah,
hit her or something. I don't know.
yeah, and the parents didn't want him to get in trouble. And
Yeah, of course. I mean, they figured, hey, you know, we already lost a daughter. Let's not lose both of our kids. I mean, I don't know. At that point, your thought
yeah,
process and stuff. Another theory, which is the one that a lot of people were kind of holding on to, and they pressed, is that it was actually the mom who did it. You know, apparently this little girl had a history of like bedwetting and stuff like that, and they did find evidence that her bed was wet. You know, on that night that she went missing. You know, there was a detective in particular that like kind of pieced it all together, and in his eyes, what happened is, you know, the mom got frustrated with her basically just wetting the bed again, and you know, got frustrated, lost her temper a little bit, and maybe pushed her or hit her with something,
yeah,
or pushed her, and maybe she hit herself on the bathtub or something, and that's what cracked her skull open. And at that point, you know, little girl's unconscious, and panic sets in, and you're like, you know, maybe the mom thought she killed her, but she was still alive.
yeah, and that's when like she got
And
strangled.
she said, well, fuck it, you know, we're gonna have to stage um a kidnapping here, and we're just gonna have to, you know, figure something
Yeah,
out. And it got out of hand, and it became what would have been an accident. And maybe, who knows, maybe if panic wouldn't have taken over,
yeah,
if it was in fact how it happened, you know, maybe the little girl would be alive today. You know what I mean? But you know, the theory states that she dragged her down to the basement and kind of had to make it seem like it was going to be a kidnapping, and like abuse, and like ultimately strangled the
yeah.
little
Because I
girl.
mean, all the evidence, the only evidence they found, physical evidence, it all belonged to the mom. The paintbrush and notepad, but
Yeah,
the writing, when they did the handwriting, to see if it was any of them, it did not match anyone in the house at all. So, like we said, it's just a bizarre case. It just doesn't make sense.
yeah,
And another sketchy thing is that the parents lawyered up right away.
yeah. I mean, it,
I
it
mean,
took them 4 months to actually sit down with authorities and cooperate. I mean, their first interview that they did was with CNN. It wasn't even like with the cops. Like, they didn't come into the police station. Like,
yeah, they didn't talk to any law
they
enforcement.
lawyered up. They kind of just didn't want anything to do with law enforcement. Um, in terms of like getting interviewed, getting the official statements, um, and then all of a sudden their first interview was like with CNN. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And it just kind of raised a lot of red flags as to how you're gonna handle your children's, you know, abduction slash murder. And you know, that's why they kept them. You know, that's why everybody thought it was them who did it. You know, they basically, one of them killed her, whether it was the dad, the mom, or the brother, and the rest of the family just said, well, let's cover this up. You
yeah.
know?
And 3 years after this, in 1999, the governor of Colorado spoke out and told the Ramsey family to quit hiding behind their lawyers. I mean, because I mean, everyone at the time was like, well, I mean, they had to have been the family. Someone in the family did it.
Yeah, because I mean, there's no other explanation if you really look at everything, how it was being portrayed. Um, you know, it's kind of crazy.
It's just, I mean, if you think about someone actually breaking in and taking her, one, why would you bring her back, right?
Or maybe they never even left the house to begin with.
Yeah, but I mean, do we really know if if PD really searched the whole house
That's
when they
true.
arrived on scene, or you know?
Yeah,
I'm saying, like, if you're kidnapping someone, you want money, why would you bring her back? Or they kidnapped her, she freaked out on them, obviously. They freaked out, hit her on the head, woke up, she wasn't dead, and that's when they strangled her. But the things that were used to strangle her belonged to the house.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you left with her, so that means she had to have gotten strangled right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like the biggest thing is like throughout that commotion and everything, and like I don't know, man. Like it's just crazy because a lot of people were also thinking like, I mean, and there's been interviews with them. Um, since then, obviously, the mom already passed away. She had cancer, I believe, and she passed away. So she, I mean, if she knew or if it was her, she took that with her to the grave. But I mean, even the brother, Burke, he did an interview on the 20th anniversary of his sister's murder. He did an interview with Dr.Phill, and I mean, he just looks so uncomfortable. Like he has this weird smile. Like
Yeah,
he's just a very sketchy looking individual,
yeah.
man.
And
Um,
crime analysis. What are they called?
yeah, like
A
those
crime analyst.
behavioral
Yeah, like they've said that his
profilers and
smile
stuff.
wasn't a nervous smile. It was more like he knows something and he's trying to push through, just answering what they're
Yeah,
asking him to
yeah, it's
answer.
it's like a very strange interaction
Yeah,
between him and
he
Dr.
looks
Phil. And
really creepy.
we're gonna put the link here below as well for you guys to check that out. But I mean, it's just everything's just creepy, and I guess he was 9 at the time. You just lose your little sister to something like this so crazy, and then everything that must have followed with the media and people harassing you. I mean, I guess it kind of
I mean,
it'll make you a little bit weird,
there's also
but I don't know. There's just something off about that guy.
there's also a video of back then of when it happened of police interrogating him. And I mean, I get it, he's 9 years old, but at 9 years old you comprehend this stuff. I
Yeah,
believe everyone
definitely.
does.
Yeah, I mean,
And when they're asking him
you know
about
right
his
from wrong.
sister, he's acting like he's acting like he doesn't know that his sister's dead.
Yeah, and I mean, he starts talking about like, oh, maybe she got stabbed with a knife and
No, yeah,
like
and then he
hit with
says
a
he got hit.
hammer.
What if maybe someone hit her on the head? He
Yeah,
says that.
yeah, he does say that in the interview. So
I
I mean,
mean, we don't
obviously,
know
it's
if
weird.
he knew. I mean, the cause of death at that time yet, but and then he even like motions like with his arm on like
Yeah, like
how
it's just so
she would
weird.
have gotten hit, and he's just sitting there playing with toys, and it's like I don't know. When I was 9 years old, I understood a lot of this stuff. I wouldn't. I mean, if one of my siblings got fucking murdered like that, I wouldn't be acting, like it's nothing.
Yeah,
I don't think. But I mean, I've never had to experience that. I mean, maybe he's still in shock or in denial.
yeah,
So I mean,
you just never
can't
know,
really
man.
like.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I said, I mean, until you're in that position, I guess you can't really
Yeah.
say.
But both interviews, when
But
he was a kid and when Dr.Phill now, they're
yeah,
both
he's
weird.
weird. Maybe he's just a weird guy, man.
Yeah, could
I
be,
mean, who knows?
could be.
But that's why a lot of speculation and like people thought maybe he did it. Like maybe he was jealous of the spotlight because, like we mentioned, I mean, these were very wealthy people. But I mean, even the little girl, JonBenet, was a little bit of a celebrity in this little town because she was in all of these, you know, beauty pageants like for kids, which is super weird to me, bro.
Yeah,
Like seeing videos of like
just all make with makeup
yeah, like
on and
makeup and like
dresses.
yeah, like it's super weird.
Yeah,
Like why you would do that, you know what I mean?
yeah, definitely.
Um, and a lot of people thought too, like once those um pictures and videos surfaced of the little girl, of JonBenet, being in like all these pageants and how her makeup was and how she was dressing, a lot of people speculated too. They're saying, hey, you know what, maybe the fact that you had her in these pageants and everything like that caused that kind of attention to be drawn to her.
Yeah, and then like some creepy dudes like, oh,
Yeah,
but I mean, it still doesn't make sense because if it was someone after her, like a pedophile, why would they ask you for money? Wouldn't you just take her away and just keep her?
Yeah, I
You know?
mean, yeah, it's a lot of strange things. Um, like I said, happened with this case, and that's why it's like so bizarre. Like, there's not a definitive like suspect that you can like. Yeah, this is the most likely person to have done it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To me, and this is my opinion, I think the family had something to do with it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, bro. I think that either the mom
I think the
or
mom
the
or the brother
brother
did it.
did it, and
But that's my opinion. I'm not like,
yeah, and at that point, like even the dad was like, "Well, fuck it, you know, I guess, you know, I guess you guys are already covering this up, so I guess I have to help." I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. Who knows? But in my opinion, I think I agree with you, man. Like I think it was a family that had something to do with it. Um, I mean, during the 911 call, another thing that was kind of also out there, and people have always been like, "Well, what was it?" You know, during the mom's call to 911, she claims that Burke, the 9-year old brother, was asleep through this entire thing. Like, and this lady was fucking screaming, man. Like on that call, and I mean, she was hysterical, and rightfully so. I mean, her daughter was missing, but how are you gonna sleep through that?
yeah.
You know what I mean? And at the end of that call,
And also, now that you mentioned that, in that interview when he was a kid with the police,
yeah,
um, they asked him, "Where were you?" And he cut when he answers that he was in bed asleep. It, I mean, we're parents. You know when your kid's lying.
yeah, they have this little
It's
like look on their face, like, oh shit.
yeah, and like they kind of hesitate, and he did that. Like in my room asleep,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
it's like I don't know. Your parents, quote unquote, just ran all over the house looking for her. You didn't wake up.
yeah, like you
They're
don't hear like your
screaming
mom
and
screaming and like
yeah,
freaking out. Yeah,
yeah,
and I mean, at the end of that phone call, because obviously it's a 911 phone call. Some experts, some detectives and stuff like that, they say that they can hear a third voice in the background, and they believe that voice to be Burke's voice. The 9-year-old little brother, and obviously, I mean, it's kind of left up
yeah.
to
Because Patsy thought she
interpretation.
hung up.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things where you'd like, oh, I hung up, but
Yeah,
it still catches that last few
few seconds.
seconds.
Yeah,
And apparently it's like
was
his
it who
voice
they say it
saying
was his? Like
like what they say,
no, what would you tell
or
them?
what you tell them or something to
Yeah,
that effect. And again, it's kind of left up for interpretation, but um, at that point,
yeah,
who knows? But I agree with you, man. I think it was something to do. I think it was a family. I think they covered it up. I think it might have been an accident at first. Maybe um, they were they were playing. Maybe I don't know. Something happened and Burke hit her with a lamp or with a hammer, or with something, or
what?
maybe the
Yeah,
mom pushed her.
what I
And
can't find is if they have the when they did the autopsy, they revealed like an actual time of death.
yeah, that's another thing. Like,
Because all I saw is that when the dad found her and ran upstairs with her,
hmm
um, her body was already in rigor mortis.
yeah, yeah. So I mean,
So she had
she
been
had
dead
already
for a
been dead
while
for a
down there.
minute. Yeah,
And another thing with that is that when he ran up with her upstairs and put her under the Christmas tree, like that keeps coming up. Like, did he literally put her? I don't think. I think they're just exaggerating. I think he just put her next. Like,
yeah. I mean, they even said that at the end. You know, the body was moved so many times in such a short span, like from the time that the dad found her, because apparently he brought her right upstairs, and then the police officer that was first on scene was like, no, we'll put her here, and then they moved her to like a different
yeah.
room,
And then the
and
detective that
then
was there, the female,
Yeah, they ended up just
She
putting her by the tree or under the
she
tree.
said that when he took her up there, that he didn't like he the dad wasn't really freaking out, and that female cop like just had a gut feeling that he had something to do with it because of the way he was acting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just like they were very composed people throughout this entire thing. And it's like, I don't know, if someone just murdered your 6-year-old
Yeah.
daughter, I'd be freaking the fuck out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I don't know. They were just very calm, cool, and collected people. And, um, you know, a lot of things that happened with the, crime scene contamination from the dad and, the body just being moved multiple times to multiple rooms, and then all of a sudden you have people walking in and out of the house while this is all going down. And there really wasn't um, any kind of conclusive way to investigate and to kind of get all of the evidence that you would want to get in something like this, unfortunately. And I think that's what ultimately led to no arrest being made, no actual evidence being found. You know, and like it was something that was in headlines and something that was under investigation. I mean, it is still an unsolved murder. Another thing is, you mentioned that the parents just lawyered up right away and everything, and it's like they did determine and they did kind of create a grand jury to kind of go over evidence. They even had them go to the house and walk around the property so they could get an idea and understanding of just how vast this property was. They had the grand jury kind of walking in and out and go through the entire home. And finally, the DA was like, "Hey, you know what? At this time, we haven't found any kind of evidence that we can kind of move on." And back in not till 2013 did some records become unsealed from that grand jury,
Mm-hmm.
and they all wanted to indict the parents.
Yeah, they actually the grand jury in 1999. That's we found this out in 2013.
Yeah, yeah. Then
But in
2013 is
1999,
is when they became unsealed
they
all the
they
records.
found we all found out that the Colorado grand jury was trying to indict them on 2 accounts each of child abuse, and said that the parents unlawfully, knowingly, and recklessly and feloniously permitted a child to be unreasonably placed in a situation that posed a threat or injury to the child's life.
Yeah, that ultimately led to their death, and also tampering with evidence and stuff like that. And
Yeah, and I mean they never went through with it.
yeah, and I mean a lot of speculation was kind of had there too, because the DA at the time was like, "Yeah, we have no evidence to indict anyone at this moment." And like, I don't know, it's like I said, it's such a high profile case.
Yeah.
These people are very prominent people. They're very wealthy. I'd hate to think that maybe he took a bribe. Maybe he's like, hey, just
Yeah, I mean with
don't
John
move forward
Ramsey's
with
money, I
this.
mean,
Yeah. Or I mean, maybe it's another case of like, hey, there's not. I mean, what was claimed is that there wasn't really enough evidence to like
to indict
make
them.
anything stick once
Yeah.
they were in prison, or
Yeah.
once they were gonna go through the trial and stuff. There really wasn't enough
No,
evidence
yeah, because I mean,
to uphold a
yeah,
conviction.
cause
You
in
know what I
court you
mean?
win with evidence, so
Yeah, it's
you
not.
don't
It's
have
not.
it,
It's not
then
what you know. It's what you can prove in a court.
right, or
But
it's not what you think,
yeah, but I
and
mean, I
then
guess
that
that's
mostly more than half of the police department and everyone involved believes that they had something to do with it.
yeah. I mean, and again, it's just kind of convenient that you're gonna say, "Oh, they tried to kidnap her," but they didn't kidnap her. Like, it sounds, it smells, and it looks like a cover up all day. So
I mean, maybe it wasn't even the parents. Maybe it was someone they knew, you know. And another theory is that that night of the Christmas party, there was a dude playing Santa Claus, and that he was always like
Yeah,
really
that guy
close
was.
to JonBenet. And then she told her friend that day before, on the 24th, I think, that Santa Claus had told her that he was gonna pay her a visit after Christmas. And her
Yeah,
friend was, I mean, they're both 6 year olds, and that's the age when you believe in Santa Claus. So the friend was like, "No, he comes on Christmas." And that JonBenet said, "Well, my Santa Claus told me he's coming the next day
yeah,
to visit me."
yeah, which is super
So,
weird.
and they had a Santa Claus who I think was a
Yeah,
family friend,
I mean, he was more of an acquaintance, but I
but
mean, this guy was
he
fucking
was
weird
he was
too.
known to be like a weirdo, right? Like with
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like it's so strange. Like just things, everything about this is just like bizarre thing after bizarre thing
yeah,
because this man,
nothing makes sense.
um, apparently he had a daughter who like 10 years prior to all this happening was also murdered, kidnapped, or whatever. His wife actually wrote a play or some kind of script about a little girl being murdered inside of a basement and strangled, and it's like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
like apparently this guy said that he had a very special bond with JonBenet, and like, no, you know what, um like it was just kind of creepy. I mean, I guess he was just trying to be, a sweet old man, but I don't know. There's also a thing where JonBenet allegedly gifted him a vial of like glitter,
mm-hmm.
and he actually had asked his wife, that if he were to, if and when he were to die or whatever, he wanted that glitter that was given to him by JonBenet to be mixed in with his ashes, which is super fucking weird.
That is
Like,
weird.
I don't know about that.
That is weird.
So, but apparently, again, DNA investigation led to no arrests, and like they were basically exonerated too. The fucking
Yeah,
creepy Santa
everyone has
Claus
been.
was
Even the
like,
people that have come up and claimed that they were the ones that killed her, they've been able to prove that it wasn't them, because either they, they give obviously false information of what happened, and like one dude said that he drugged her, but obviously in the autopsy there was no drugs in her system.
yeah,
And then another thing is that around this time that this happened, um, there was, I think, more than 100 break-ins in their neighborhood.
yeah,
In the months following up to JonBenet Ramsey's murder, and that there was 38 confirmed, I guess, pedophiles that lived within like 2 miles of their house.
yeah,
So I mean, there's more than 100 break-ins in the months prior, and there's 38 pedophiles, and this little girl's well known in town.
yeah. I mean, she was like a little local celebrity, bro. Like I
Yeah,
said, I mean, super wealthy parents. She was like,
she would win like all these
yeah, she was
beauty
winning contests
pageants.
and beauty pageants all over the place and shit like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's the whole thing's bizarre.
Yeah, to say the least.
It's just it's really weird.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I wonder if at one point in time, um, I mean, the mom is already, she's gone because she actually did die from the cancer. I guess she beat it back in the 90s and it
She
came
had
back.
just beat it right before
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
JonBenet's murder.
yeah. And I
One that
mean,
was
I
the
guess
first
it
time, and then, yeah.
it came back, and she wasn't as lucky this time around. I mean, but the dad and the brother are still alive, and I wonder like if they were involved, if at any point in time they're going to like come forward and say, hey, you know
I
what,
mean, if they had something
this
to
is
do
what
with it,
really
I doubt it.
happened.
But it's,
I don't know, man. It's just one
I,
of those things.
and I'm not trying to say that I really believe it was them. It's just nothing makes sense. That just makes you end up with, well, then it had to have been someone in the family. or
Yeah, because
or
there's just too
someone,
many things going
you know,
on.
or a really close friend or something, because it's just really weird.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know, it's crazy. I mean, hopefully this is something that gets solved.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty cool
Yeah,
to,
just to kind of see that through
yeah,
and see who did it
yeah,
and just kind of get some answers. You know what I mean? After almost 25 years, this little 6-year-old girl lost her life. You know, tragically, and it's crazy.
and I mean, they've had top, well-known people investigated too, like the forensic scientist,
Yeah,
the Henry Chang Yu Lee.
yeah,
I think he's even like helped investigate like the big profile, cases. He like the one from the documentary, the one with the staircase, where
mm,
they kept saying that it was the husband who killed his wife because the blood splatter and everything just didn't make sense, and that's what this dude investigates. Like
yeah,
he
yeah,
really
yeah,
breaks it down. Like, okay, well, if you hit someone here, where would that blood splatter go? Or if you hit
yeah,
someone on the leg, how would the bruising really look like? Like this
yeah,
dude, he knows his shit,
yeah. Of course.
but he's also been called down on shit.
Yeah,
So I mean, you've had guys like this investigated, and there's nothing, like they can't come up with anything. Like either the person that broke in was a fucking amazing burglar,
yeah.
or it was
Also,
someone who really wanted to take her.
I mean, even at that point, I
That
mean,
that you did such a good job that you made no sound breaking in through the basement. Because people, I think, what some of the cops tried breaking in to see if you would make a sound, and I think only one was able to like really silently break into the house.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, as big as a house could be, I mean, you're still gonna hear some shit go down. Like, if someone breaks a window, if someone's trying to break in through your basement, like, you're probably gonna hear some shit.
Yeah, and then they found no evidence of anyone trying to break into any door or any window but the window that was open. So either that window was left open, because there's no
Yeah,
signs that they literally tried to break into different
yeah. I mean, there was
places.
like little pieces of glass here and there that were found at the scene too. But I mean, yeah, like you said, nothing conclusive that says like, oh yeah, this was for sure breaking,
Yeah.
or this was for sure like, you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
so weird.
this whole thing's weird. I mean, we're gonna tag a bunch of videos from this because there's actually a lot of cool videos on this, and I mean, I hope one day we find out what really happened and who did it.
Yeah, no,
But
definitely.
this is a really interesting case. I mean, pretty sure everyone in the world knows about this case.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. What do you guys think? Who do you guys think did it? You know, like I said, we're gonna put up a bunch of links to interviews, videos that we kind of stumbled upon throughout doing our own little fact finding and investigation, if you will. But yeah, let us know. I mean, who do you think would have had the best motive? Because I mean, who would want to kill a little 6-year-old girl? I mean,
yeah, I
I don't
mean, there
know.
shouldn't even be a motive. It's
Yeah,
just
definitely.
this is just completely fucked up.
Yeah.
Beginning from how shitty the Boulder PD
Yeah, I mean I mean how they mishandled everything, and
let people all over the
I mean,
place.
at the end of the day, it's like I said, it was a perfect storm of anything that can go wrong will, and I mean, I hope that this little girl gets justice, soon.
Yep.
Someone, at least, her, whoever's responsible can, be confronted with the law,
Yeah,
and
and I mean, if that person who did it is already dead, I mean,
yeah, at
at
least,
least you get
yeah,
to close the case,
yeah, exactly. Give,
and maybe give other unsolved cases, the hope
yeah, the
of it being able to be
yeah,
solved.
absolutely.
But that's all we got for you guys today.
Yeah, that's gonna be it. I mean, we'll be back next week with another topic, another episode. But until then, guys, we'll see you soon.
Stay safe.